6 hostile contacts, just 47 nautical miles away and closing in fast. No radio chatter, no ID signals, and definitely no warning. 3 Venezuelan F-16s drop below 2,000 feet, throttle up, and head straight for the USS Gerald R. $13 billion of American naval power now locked in their sights. Speed, 450 miles per hour, altitude dropping, and their intentions? Totally unclear. The radar screen lights up with even more contacts. 3 more fighters are launching from Venezuela. 6 jets in the air, all lined up for an attack. Weapons ready in just 11 minutes. This isn't a mistake or a training drill, it's a bold move to see if the U.S. Navy will back down when foreign fighters come at their flagship carrier. The response is quicker than Venezuela expected, hitting with the cold accuracy of a system that's been waiting for this moment. The countdown begins now. At exactly 47 nautical miles, the Ford's SPY-6 radar array locks onto all 6 contacts at once. This system is the cutting edge of naval detection tech. With 37 radar faces working together, it tracks over 1,000 targets simultaneously, creating detailed 3D tactical pictures. It can even identify aircraft type, speed, altitude, and weapon loadout from more than 100 miles away. How cool is that? They're trying to sneak by using radar shadows and flying low, thinking it gives them the upper hand. But they're totally mistaken. The SPY-6 spots them instantly, keeps track of them, and starts sending targeting info to every weapon in the strike group before the pilots even finish their descent. In just 45 seconds, the whole carrier strike group is fully tactical and ready to roll. Contact classified as hostile. Bearing 095, speed 4,550 knots, and altitude dropping through 180 feet. We're in a wedge formation for the attack, with an estimated time to weapons range of 10 minutes and 30 seconds. The info is instantly sent to the destroyers USS Mason and USS Thomas Hudner. Their SPY-1D systems lock onto the targets, and fire control solutions kick in automatically. SM to surface-to-air missiles are ready to go, while the Aegis combat system calculates the best intercept windows and fuel burn rates for engagement. Range is 6 incoming fighters, 12 defensive missiles ready to launch. The mathematics of modern naval warfare reduces complex tactical situations to pure numbers. And right now, those numbers heavily favor the Americans. The Venezuelan formation splits. 3 fighters maintain low altitude, exploiting ground clutter. 3 climb to 12,000 feet, establishing high-low pressure from multiple vectors. Classic Soviet-era fighter doctrine. Aggressive, coordinated, completely predictable too. American music tactical analysts who have studied this exact scenario in war games hundreds of times. The SPY-6 tracks both elements simultaneously. The low-altitude fighters detected through surface bounce radar returns. The high-altitude elements painted clean against open sky. No gaps in coverage, no blind spots, no tactical surprise. Venezuelan pilots trained for this maneuver believe they're forcing the Americans into a defensive dilemma. The Ford's combat systems catalog it as Scenario Delta 7 and execute pre-programmed countermeasures automatically. Launch alert fighters. The order hits the deck at 6 minutes to contact. 2 FA-18E Super Hornets roll toward catapult positions. Yellow-shirted deck crew execute launch procedures with mechanical precision. The Ford's electromagnetic aircraft launch system charges. Unlike steam catapults that require minutes to reset, this system cycles in seconds. First Hornet locks to the shuttle. 3 seconds of systems checks. Green lights. Across all stations. The throttle slammed to full afterburner. 270 feet of electromagnetic acceleration. 0 to 170 miles per hour in under 2 seconds. The Super Hornet explodes off the bow, climbing hard into Caribbean sky. 12 seconds later, the second Hornet launches. Call signs, Viper 1 and Viper 2. Mission parameters, intercept, identify, shadow. Rules of engagement, weapons tight unless fired upon. Time to intercept 3 minutes 40 seconds. The Venezuelan formation accelerates. Speed increases to 480 knots. The tactical. Picture updates in real time across every display in the strike group. Range 31 nautical miles. Closure rate 870 miles per hour combined. The mathematics compress. Time to merge 3 minutes 15 seconds. The destroyers tighten formation around the carrier. Electronic warfare suites activate in passive mode. No emissions. Pure listening. Venezuelan radar frequencies logged. Communication patterns recorded. Electronic signatures captured. Every piece of data feeds into Pentagon intelligence databases. The Venezuelans think they're conducting an aggressive patrol. They're actually broadcasting their complete electronic warfare capabilities to the most sophisticated signals intelligence network ever deployed. Range 24 nautical miles. The Hornets climbed to 22,000 feet and turned to intercept. Their APG-79 active electronically scan array radars lock all 6 targets at 63 miles. Each pilot sees the complete tactical picture painted in glowing symbology. 6 hostile tracks. Weapon status unknown. Intent clearly aggressive. The Venezuelan high element breaks formation. 2 fighters peel off in diving poses toward the destroyers. Simulated attack runs. Afterburners light. Speed exceeds 500 knots. The Aegis system tracks them continuously. Fire control solutions update every half second. SM to surface air missiles remain in ready status. Launch authorization pending. The fighters pull up at 4,000 feet, climbing away without engaging. Testing, probing, searching for reaction. Range 18 nautical miles. First visual contact. Viper 1 acquires 6 contacts at 11 o'clock low. Venezuelan F-16s in spread formation. Centerline fuel tanks visible. No external weapons observed on hardpoints. Plausible deniability maintained. The radios crackle. Tally 6 bandits bearing 09 or 5. Angels 12 nose hot. The Ford's tactical action officer responds immediately. Viper flight. Maintain defensive posture. Do not lock weapons. Observe and report. The Hornets settle into shadow position. Close enough to monitor. Far enough to. Every sensor in the strike group zeroes in on the Venezuelan formation. High-res cameras capture aircraft markings, while infrared systems check engine temps. Electronic support measures analyze radar signals. The data flow is non-stop. The Venezuelan low element dives aggressively, dropping to 1,000 feet, then 800, and finally 600. One fighter rolls in hot, skimming just below 500 feet above the Caribbean water. The jet wash slices through the air. Visible disturbance across the ocean surface. Spray kicks up behind the aircraft. The maneuver is aggressive, technically skilled, and strategically meaningless. The SPY-6 tracks the fighter through the entire sequence without losing lock. The phalanx close-in weapon systems rotate to track automatically. 20mm Gatling cannons loaded. Fire control computers calculate intercept solutions. Engagement range 8 nautical miles. Current range to 0.3 miles. Weapons hold. The fighter pulls up. Hard afterburner blazing and climbs away. Range 12 nautical miles. The Venezuelan formation reforms. All 6 fighters converge into tight combat spread. Speed increases to 510 knots. They turn directly toward the Ford. The tactical displays light up with updated threat vectors. This is the moment, the point where provocation escalates into potential engagement. Time to weapons range 90 seconds. The phalanx systems track continuously. The destroyers maintain fire control solutions. The Hornets tighten shadow positions. 3,000. Sailors across the strike group watch display the displays and wait music for authorization. That may or may not come. The Venezuelan fighters maintain course. 80 seconds the weapons range. 70 seconds. 60 seconds. Range 8 nautical miles. One Venezuelan F-16 brakes hard left and dives. Not gradually, not tactically. A violent 6G brake followed by nose-down pitch. The fighter drops from 8,000 feet toward the Ford in what can only be interpreted as a simulated attack profile. The phalanx on the Ford's forward deck rotates to track, autonomous mode active. The system doesn't require human authorization and final defense protocols. Radar locked. Target acquired. Firing solution calculated. Range for nautical miles and closing. Speed 530 knots. Time to engagement envelope 45 seconds. The tungsten rounds in the phalanx magazine could shred this fighter into fragments smaller than confetti. 4,500 rounds per minute. A wall of metal dense enough to stop anything that flies. The engagement criteria load automatically. Minimum. Range, 5 nautical miles. Current range 3.7 miles. Weapons hold. The F-16 levels at 600 feet. The fighter screams across the Ford's bow. Close enough that the shock wave rattle equipment on the flight deck. Close enough that deck crews see the pilot's helmet in the cockpit. Close enough that acoustic sensors record the Doppler shift of the engine. The phalanx tracks the entire pass. Radar lock never breaks. Firing solution remains active. The fighter clears the bow and enters climb. Range, 1 nautical mile, to miles, 3 miles. Just when it seems safe, things take a turn. Hydraulic failure hits. One of the Venezuelan F-16s may be the same one that made that risky pass suddenly goes haywire. Warning lights flash everywhere in the cockpit, hydraulic pressure drops, and flight controls start to fail. The pilot struggles to keep it together as fluid leaks from busted lines. The American Signals Intelligence Suite captures the entire sequence. Emergency radio traffic, mayday calls, desperate communication with Venezuelan ground control. The fighter limps toward coastline, barely controllable, trailing visible hydraulic spray. The SPY-6 tracks it continuously. The Hornets maintain shadow position but do not interfere. This is a mechanical failure, not a combat engagement. The Venezuelan pilot manages to reach coastal airspace before the aircraft becomes completely unflyable. Ejection. Sequence initiates. The canopy blows. The rocket seat fires. The pilot separates clean. The F-16 impacts coastal waters at 300 knots and disintegrates on contact. Total loss. The remaining Venezuelan fighters break formation immediately. No coordination, no tactical withdrawal, pure reaction to watching one of their wingmen punch out. 5 aircraft turn hard southwest and accelerate toward home. Afterburners light across the formation. Speed exceeds 550 knots. The tactical picture clears rapidly. Range opens, 15 miles, 20 m. 30 mi. The hostile contacts fade music toward Venezuelan airspace. The Hornets maintain track but do not pursue. Mission parameters observe in shadow. The fighters cross no thresholds that authorize pursuit into foreign airspace. The engagement terminates exactly as it began. Suddenly, without warning, without explanation, the USS Gerald R maintains course, heading unchanged, speed unchanged. No evasive maneuvers executed, no defensive protocols activated beyond standard alert status. The carrier sailed a perfectly straight line throughout the entire 47-minute encounter. The navigation logs prove it. The GPS track confirms it. $13 billion of American naval power treated 6 aggressive fighters with the same tactical concern most people reserve for seagulls at the beach. That calculated indifference transmits more strategic message than any weapons release ever could. The Ford doesn't react to provocation. The Ford doesn't acknowledge threats that can't actually harm her. The Ford continues mission exactly as planned, while potential adversaries exhaust themselves in futile demonstrations. The intelligence hull is substantial and comprehensive. Every radar emission captured and cataloged. Every radio frequency logged and analyzed. Flight patterns recorded and dissected for tactical doctrine indicators. Electronic warfare signatures mapped completely. The SPY-6 tracked all 6 fighters from first detection to final disappearance, building electronic profiles that Pentagon analysts are gonna be digging into this for years. Venezuelan command thought they were just testing the U.S. resolve, but they ended up spilling the beans on their Air Force capabilities, pilot training, and tactics. The cost? A whopping $47,000 in fuel and maintenance, plus they lost an F-16 worth around $3 million. They even gave away valuable electronic signatures worth millions in intel. They showed some serious aggression, which justifies more American naval presence. But guess what? There's been no strategic gains or territorial changes. The USS Gerald R is still on patrol, with training flights scheduled for that afternoon. Meals are served on time, and the incident gets logged and reported as usual. It's just another day for a carrier strike group that handles more complexity before lunch than most navies do all day. In just 48 hours, Venezuelan state media drops edited footage claiming their pilots made the American carrier back off. But the navigation logs tell a different story. No course changes, no speed adjustments. The carrier stayed on its path the whole time. This is what modern gray zone confrontation looks like. One side pushes hard while the other just stands firm. No shots fired. But the strategic messages are loud and clear through radar signals and electronic signatures. Venezuela wanted to show they could take on American power. But trying to challenge a Ford-class strike group with old fighters, that's like giving away your chess moves to a grandmaster. Some lessons are learned the hard way, and this one didn't need explosions, just tech superiority and a lack of strategy. The carriers moved south, while the fighters headed home, and the intel kept flowing to Washington. Meanwhile, the Caribbean stayed quiet. Just as contested as it was before, which is to say, not at all.